don't think I was able to take as many notes as I wanted to. But what went well? I think.
That's okay. What do you remember, or
What do I remember?
felt good about?
I think the book choice was good.
Mm-hmm.
I felt confident about the book choice. Here it is. And let's see. I think that they got into the habit now of the one person taking a turn and the other person talking about the book. I think that went well.
Okay.
During the picture walk, and yeah, those are the things I can think of right now.
So, tell me how you feel about your book introduction.
How do I feel about my book introduction?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was okay. I think I could have sped up on the pacing a little bit. And I know one thing I was kicking myself, I highlighted, I wanted to go over, I thought that the capital use was in more than one, capitalized in more than one place, and I know that has in the past threw them off, but it really wasn't. It was only in the title.
Okay.
And so I was I'm like, oh wait, they don't really need that. I was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
And so forth. So for some reason I just didn't remember that. But but I think it went okay. Just the pacing could have went, I think, a little faster.
Pacing. Okay.
Pacing and yeah.
Do you feel confident about writing them and delivering them? Or how do you feel?
About the intro. Yeah, I feel much more confident now. Since I saw how you did it and so forth, I feel much more confident now about introducing the book, looking for the meaning and so forth, giving them a great explanation, a good explanation of what the book is about, but short, and looking for that the visual cues. That's why we have to go look for the words and so forth, giving them those. So I think
And we'll get into that later, but I saw that too. I saw a confidence about the book introduction.
Yeah, that I wasn't there where I'm read this book.
Yes.
This book is great. Come on. And I wasn't, you said, because usually in my book introductions prior to this, I did most of the legwork, and it was giving that release and letting them, do the legwork and find meaning on their own from the pictures and so forth.
Exactly. So, I want to know, as you were putting this lesson together, did you anticipate any difficulties?
I anticipated multiple difficulties because that's just the group in which I chose. I chose that group on purpose because this is a challenging group, and I wanted, you've seen them before, but I wanted, this is my most challenging group. What can I do? What am I not doing, or am I, having you there to look at it and see what things that I can't see while I'm in it, at the time and so forth. So, I did anticipate multiple challenges because I know some of them don't like to read, or they just stop and just stare, when they come to difficult words, they don't use any of the strategies we've gone over. A lot of, they don't, and they're inconsistent. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Right, that low motivation, inconsistency, which makes it really hard to plan for.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to talk about what I saw as strengths, an area that we can work on, and then where to go next.
Okay.
So in my mind, where we've been traveling is in the reading Common Core standard, where you want to engage students in reading, engage them in reading activities, help build their understanding. And so I was looking for your strengths in that area, and I was really excited because I saw you applying a lot of the strategy that you've learned. And so I pulled out a couple strengths that I saw I want to share with you. The first strength that I saw was you did a really good job redirecting Angel. You just kept bringing him back. And whether it was giving him choice with the familiar read, you going back and forth talking to him during the book introduction, you just kept pulling him back into the reading, kind of being his focus for him, and it resulted in successful reading. When you were more so on this side of the table, I was kind of listening into Angel, and he might not have wanted to do it when you're around just to show, like, I don't want to read this book. But when you left and he was kind of by himself, he just read the book, and he read it successfully, and you just didn't let him get away from that. Like, and so I thought,
sidetrack the whole,
so he got engaged, and I think you just gave him exactly what he needed. And then it was very clear that the partner sharing is something that you've shown them and they've gotten used to, because when it came time to do, like, talking about the pictures, everybody was talking about the pictures. Even, I know we were worried about Genesis.
No, yeah, and she was,
She was talking, and she was actually taking charge over
it was her and Brian, was it?
Gracia.
Gracia, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard her talking over there, because our Angel was my partner, so I couldn't hear it all the way, but I heard her talking more.
Yeah,
I've been on her.
make sure to be her ears to see what Genesis is doing. And I think, even though she struggled, I think that little bit helped her on later. And I noticed with her, what it is with her is that she'll slip into Spanish. And she's telling herself what it is in Spanish. And she's saying this, talking about the story in Spanish is just not helping her vocabulary when she comes to it while she's reading.
Okay.
But when she was searching for a way to say it in English, she just switched to Spanish.
Okay.
And so it's like she's still talking about the book, she's building meaning.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's good to know, though. I need to put that in my maybe I should write it down. So let's see, switches to Spanish.
But I think it's important to note that she is building that meaning.
Okay.
So maybe we can call, like you did, you went over to her later on in the lesson and tried to call her attention to the picture and the meaning of the story. And because she was talking about it, she has it. We just might need to provide more of that English vocabulary
for her. Okay.
Yeah. And then, so on that same note, I noticed that you gave the level of support that she needed at difficulty. She did get to a point where she just stopped and was stuck. And she wasn't then to generate the word on her own. And eventually first you try to get her to use meaning, a picture, I think it was fireman, and then eventually you just told her the word.
Yeah.
And I think that's what she needed, because when she went back to read that page, she was able.
And okay, good.
So how do you feel about the support you gave her?
I think in the end I just needed to tell her. Because it was going to stop the flow of the book. And then she would have become frustrated, which I've seen her become, not easily, but after time, like, oh, I don't know this and so forth. But once she had it, and because I knew if I told her, she would like, oh yeah, because we've seen firemen, they come to school, oh yeah, and so forth. So, but I did want to try to force her to try to recall. Really, it was recalling. Yeah. And so, but.
And I like that you gave her the opportunity first to try it on her own before you gave her the told, and when she wasn't, you were in there, because it is one of those tricky vocabulary. So if you're really not thinking.
Because for an Angel, I wouldn't have, because he's coming I just have to sit there and just wait, because I know he has it in that brain of his. But like you said, for Genesis, who that's English is not her dominant language, and so
And that's a good thing to note, and a skill to be aware of that you're doing, is that you might have to vary your support even in one group based on the students, especially if their needs are all over the place and they're inconsistent. And then one last strength note that I made was, I love how you went back at the end to review or retell the story. And then use that structure. That was difficult. You tried to give them the beginning, and then you came back in the end when they were like, who's using water? And it was just a quick share. It was super quick. I don't even know if you noticed, but it was just who's using water? And little moments like that help with the next read. Okay. Just opportunities. Keep talking. Yeah. Oh, use that water, that word.
Yeah, So that was, which was a tricky word. It is.
It is, because especially if you're learning sounds and you're trying to go like, it's like, oh, it's a you.
Yeah, it's you. So you say you. Okay, you say his name.
They're like, what? Just
That's
trust me
not
on
how-
this.
Mhm.
So I thought that went well.
Okay.
So I was searching for where we're going to work. There's just certain things that are out of your control. Like, I think for where they're going next, they might, or it's not your whole group, but if we're planning in the mind of your most struggling student in that group, which would be Genesis, she needs like as much familiar vocabulary as possible.
Okay.
And that happens in story, but there's not a lot of stories available.
Yeah.
So what we can do on our end is kind of focusing on adjusting levels of support.
Okay.
So
Should I take her? I mean, because that's a level. Let's see. I mean, just thinking about it right now. Genesis, she's in it with the level 3s. I mean, she can technically be with Angelina, bump her to it'd be bumping her down, but to a 2.
Are they anywhere close to moving to a 3?
The only one, Kaylee. But I think she would get swallowed up. Swallowed up in here. I think Brian is ready to move to a 4.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, in
Okay,
this mind of planning them, we need to be thinking of what we can do to move them to a 4 too.
Okay, so when you said that, giving her the like familiar words and familiar vocabulary, I was thinking 2 books have that kind of like park, things that she knows. Ball, stuff like that, house.
That's tricky, but if this is a really hard group to make it 5.
Yeah, it would. I'll keep her there. I mean, she's not used to it.
Let's see how she does.
And I like how you told me that she was giving, giving the picture walk and using vocabulary, and saying it. And so.
Let's see how she does with like different types of books, different vocabulary before because that makes this group really hard to manage. Because I think they need a lot of your support.
They do. And
she does too. Whereas you can kind of shift your focus and over to different people and just. Yeah. So as far as level of support, so in your plans you might have to note that I need to use this language structure more with this student.
Okay.
So I might have to visit her more in the time that they're reading alone.
Okay.
And I might be like modeling a page and then having her go on her own. So it's really like a really responsive thing where you just have to adjust based on the student. And especially if you're working with a book that needs a lot and they're a needy group. So I was thinking, with her, she might need more explicit modeling and visual.
Okay, explicit modeling and visual.
Yes, because for your use, you modeled the language structure, use water for, and I think it was enough for everyone but Genesis. I think she would have needed to hear it more. Okay. So even if it means, which is like you're giving up a little behavior and letting Angel go a little bit and doing the book walk with Genesis, even if it's like coming in at the end, just to like say the structure more. And I know we're like, are we telling them the whole book?
That's what I worry about.
Which is like,
because I'm like, I know when we get to like, M class, I can't. I mean, the first books or whatever, but the next, like, you need to read this,
It's a fine line. That's why I would love to switch more into story, because you can do that less and less with story. But she's so unfamiliar with...
When you say switch to story,
narrative, like My Tower.
Okay.
Or like something where there's a storyline.
Instead of like this. Okay.
Where she can like grasp onto the storyline and kind of anticipate what might happen based on the story. Yeah. It's hard for her to anticipate what's going to come next in the nonfiction because it's meant to change.
Yeah.
So if she had that maybe that would help her a little bit
Mm-hmm.
make.
Like the tiger, like they got, yeah, okay.
Because right now she's guessing at the vocabulary because she doesn't have it. Sure.
And it doesn't make, and it